Hello and welcome to Crucible of Words for more dedicated Legacy action. Today I am playing a bit of a spicy one here. The quest for the best shell for the energy cards in Legacy is one that is continuing to prove elusive and nobody has quite cracked it yet. I tried an energy food chain build recently and that was pretty good, and now we've got this energy tempo deck that came second in a challenge recently. So we have Guide of Souls, Ocelot Pride. That is kind of the bedrock of these sorts of decks where we just pop off with a load of energy, make our guys big, make a load of cats, have a lovely time. We've also got Amped Raptor, which is usually seen in a lot of these energy shells. It can just go and find more copies of these or find some other useful things like Source of Plowshares or just some cantrips in this particular list. And then there's the Ajani. This is seen quite often too. This allows us to make some more tokens, which gets us more energy. You can also flip into the Planeswalker side, which gives us some more cats and sometimes gives us some pretty good damage if we have a red permanent. So we got the Amped Raptors, and this list is running one Goblin Bombardment as a way of getting the additional red permanent for the Ajani. I'm not wholly convinced on this in this particular deck, but obviously if we're popping off with Ocelot Pride, it's going to be good. But if we're popping off with Ocelot Pride, we probably don't need the Bombardment. But I understand the urge to have another red permanent to work with the Ajani. So it's pairing all these sorts of things with some Force of Wills and some Dazes so that we can protect what we're doing and play like a bit of a tempo game plan. And we have these Mockingbirds, which can become copies of Ocelot Pride or Guide of Souls or some of the other stuff. It's probably going to be one of those two. And then we can have a nice doubling up of a really good effect we have. This can also copy our opponent's things if they have something a little bit spooky as well. So that's another thing to keep note of. Alongside this plow, let's move this plows over here, shall we? So we've got the plows and the endings, so we have some interaction for stuff that is already resolved. Now there is a little bit of counter synergy with using plows whilst we're trying to be a tempo game plan, trying to reduce our opponent's life total down. But in theory we should create like a big enough of an overwhelming advantage, because these creatures on their own aren't very good. We're trying to have a little bit of synergy stuff, then back it up with like a tempo shell of cantrips and disruption. Mana base, we got ourselves 4 of these beautiful little wastelands here. We have no Surveil lands in our list, but we do have a basic plains and a basic island that we can go and fetch. And we are just dipping into red, so we're just getting these off of jewels. Sideboard wise, we are dipping into red a bit more with a Meltdown and some Pyroblast. Not really much needs to be said about these cards. They are just great. We've got Grafdigger's Cage for these graveyard decks along with some Faerie Macabre, so we have the ability to interact on turn 0 along with our counter magic, as well as having a nice thing we can slam down and lock people out. You've got a Stony Silence to go alongside our Meltdown to really hose these artifact decks. Containment Priest, good against Nadu, good against Reanimator. Force of Negation for some of these combo decks that we need to try and deal with. Consign Memory as a 4-of to deal with the Eldrazi deck, which can just absolutely smash us up in the mid-game. So this can hopefully stop that from happening. And just a nice Hydroblast to get rid of some moons or whatever we need. So that's the list. I'm excited to give it a whirl. Like I said, this came second in a challenge recently. And it's clearly just playing a bunch of good cards. But is this the perfect shell for energy? We will find out. So please remember to like and subscribe. And if you want to become a YouTube member, you can see my videos early for just £1 a month. Alright, let's do some energy. Right, so we are on the play. We don't have a Surveil land, so they won't playing this one out. So we can just play an island into Amped Raptor. That seems fine. The Mockingbird copy in the Amped Raptor will get the ability, because it will enter as a Raptor, and this is a when it enters trigger. We have a little bit of disruption. We've got a clock. It's not the most impressive clock, but we'll see what it produces for us. Let's pass it over. Ancient Tomb. So we're on that life, are we? An unlicensed hearse. Okay. So we're probably looking at a red stompy style list would be my guess. Alright, let's hope Raptors are good. Because that's all we've got. It's Raptors all the way down. A Mockingbird. I guess I'll have a 1/1 flyer. So not ideal there. This is already a little bit of tension in the deck that I'm not enjoying. My general impression of Amped Raptor has been that this card is not very good. That's my general impression. Now I understand it got banned from Modern for some reason. I don't think this was necessarily the offender. I think also in Legacy, because there's a load of stuff that we're playing. So I just want to get more power down. We didn't do anything with 3 mana last time. So like I was saying, there's also... Get Plateau and get both of our colours here. There's also the fact that in Legacy you have a bunch of like Force of Will type stuff that we're playing with it, which makes it a lot worse. Ocelot Pride, I will cast that. Bash for 3. So next turn we can Wasteland our opponent, and then we can Mockingbird, copying the Ocelot Pride. And then if we get the one bit of lifelink in, then all of a sudden we're going to be getting many, many Pussycats. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. All right, they're cycling this Timeless Dragon. Our opponent is on like a white stompy list, I guess. Interesting. An Anointed Peacekeeper. I think I'll just Daze this, because we really want to connect with this Ocelot Pride. You've got Spirit Guide over there. No, okay. Let's attack with the team. So this is like a Prismatic Ending in terms of how it works. Because you don't have to pay you don't have to pay X, it's just that you can pay larger. It's the amount of mana that you paid in total, including its actual cost. Alright, so we go to end of turn. Then we make some cats, and then our opponent can't go back from there. So we're looking at some sort of stompy deck. So we're probably going to want to be able to interact with early creatures. So maybe we're going to want Force of Negation to stop any like early spells as well. Like Chalice and stuff can be quite detrimental to our health here. Probably because of the Chalice, I might be interested in having a single Meltdown in as well. I don't think we need Cage for anything here. Pyroblast isn't live. These Faerie Macabres aren't live. The Stony Silence can sometimes do something, but I don't think that's where I want to be. The Consign Memory counters the One Ring, so that's kind of interesting as well. The Hydroblast, they may be red-white initiative, they may be white stompy. I don't think we board the Hydroblast until we see that. So maybe we want some Consign to Memories here. I think the Goblin Bombardment does not look particularly good here. I imagine that's going to get cut quite a bit. I do love this card, but I don't think this is the way. How useful do I think these Dazes are on the play? Not very. Now, we did snag something that time. Sorry, on the draw, I don't think they're that useful. Maybe we'll take them out and have 3 Consigns and try that. Because our opponents should be able to play around Dazes quite effectively when they've got a load of fast mana and soul lands and stuff. I mean, encounter the first scary thing, and we can do some Ocelot Pride into Amped Raptor. It's kind of what we signed up for here. City of Traitors, Mox Diamond. Okay, we're going to try and hit the payoff here, because they didn't lead off with a cavern. All right, I'm not a big lover of having to do that, but I think it's acceptable. So the Wastelands that we saw is the reason why I think our opponent is playing mono white. I don't think you could get those in a non-white deck. Sorry, in a 2-color deck. Disruptor Flute. What are you going to name here? Wasteland. Okay. I understand. Expedition map. Let's get some Amped Raptor action. Swords to Plowshares. We will not cast that one. Let's get some cats. So this turn we are very shields down, but if they play a creature, we can remove it. Best case scenario is they tap out for like an initiative creature. Have a Wasteland that doesn't work here. Go to attacks. They'll make a token, then we'll plow it. It's not really how I want to use my plow, but I think it's acceptable to push damage and make sure we keep getting tokens here. So this ends up just being a wash damage-wise. But we get the lifelink, which gives us another cat. We don't have any surveil lands, so we don't have any use for this Flooded Strand. Obviously, you know, it's still mana and stuff, but it's not going to be getting us any deeper into our deck or anything. Alright, so they're activating their Ancient Tomb to make a construct. I guess we did get the damage from the Ancient Tomb through last turn, on top of the other bits cancelling each other out. Currency Converter. This does look like what I call the Perez deck, because they're the first person I saw playing it, and they played it a fair bit. We're not going to crack our fetch down in case we draw a Brainstorm. An Ocelot Pride. How are we supposed to gain life? So we can attack with the Ocelot Pride. They'll block it. We'll gain 1 life. Then we play this other Ocelot Pride. Doesn't seem ideal. Alright, I think I'm going to play out this Ocelot Pride and hold back. Because if we draw a land next turn, we can at least hold up the Force of Will. So we might as well deploy our guys to the board. But our opponent is in a reasonably strong position here. Now, Meltdown is a card that we boarded in, which would be absolutely brutal right now. So we should be able to get the City's Blessing very soon. And if we get the City's Blessing, then if we can just gain life 1 time, then we're going to get loads and loads of tokens. Alright, we have the City's Blessing. So attacking here does not feel great, but we have a Force of Will if we need it for something spooky. But they're just going to keep grinding value off of these sagas, and we're going to have to hope to survive the onslaught of these guys until we can get... I think we're going to fetch actually around our opponent's... We want to fetch around anything our opponent can do here in terms of a Pithing Needle, so we're just going to do that now. So I guess we get a Plateau here. We want a lot of white mana, I guess. But once we have the City's Blessing, we can't lose it. Right, they're taking 2 life to cycle. A Trinisphere. Not surprised to see that. Well, they don't have things like Blood Moons, so they have to have other payoffs. Yeah, I suspect we're going to see some more constructs. If we can find the Meltdown, we win this game. If we don't, I think we lose. That's kind of how it's shifting to be right now. Getting on the Mox Diamond. It's better than a land for them because it pumps their guys. If there was ever a time to draw a Meltdown, now is that time. We can also make a treasure off of the Caracas that's in there. We can attack for a lot of damage here. I think we're taking it. They can attack for additional 2 damage if they make a treasure. They can attack for additional 4 damage if they make a treasure and a construct. Alright, deck. An Amped Raptor. I guess we're casting it. Force of Will. Is very much a swing and a miss here. So I can attack to gain a life here to make 2 guys. Is that worth making 2 guys for losing our Ocelot Pride? I don't think it is. I think we're just chump blocking with our cat tokens now. If they've got Trample over there, then we probably lose. Just stopping our Wasteland on their sagas has been really clutch here. So they're going to have like, what, 40 odd powers worth of stuff here. Okay, they're getting a Rogue token instead. Rogue token doesn't seem great until our first strike, which is just the can we draw a Meltdown game. But at least it's nice we have something we can draw that might just completely win us the game immediately. We can remove all of our opponent's permanents bar this Rogue token if we draw the Meltdown. Alright, we're going to be doing some chump blocking here. Okay, is it worth keeping these? I'm trying to work out if we... No, I think we're just doing like this. We're going to cast anything with a treasure token. Anointed Peacekeeper is pretty solid here. Elite Spellbinder. Okay, not great for us, but we can still get some work done if we draw the Meltdown. Like, this game has been about drawing the Meltdown for a while. We didn't draw the Meltdown. We can play this, and then we're going to die. We'll have 4 guys, but they have way more damage. Okay, that was pretty savage. Do you want to do anything differently here? The Consign Tarn did not look as good as I thought it was going to look there. I think we could probably pull back and bring these Dazes in on the play. Being on the play is kind of a big deal for us here. So we can go get a white source, deploy a Guide of Souls. We're kind of at the mercy of our opponent's first turn, but this is the sort of hand that we want that kind of snowballs out of control. And if they spend their first turn playing a Trinisphere, we've at least got something on the board. The evasion that this Guide of Souls grants as well is really useful. Right, we're going to get Tundra here. Guide of Souls, here it comes. Okay, we're going to have 2 mana here, perhaps. Could be a Chalice. Chalice is annoying, but we at least have a follow-up in the Amped Raptor. March of Otherworldly Light, is that? It is. Chalice for 1, okay. Would I rather have a second Guide of Souls or this Amped Raptor? I think it's probably the second Guide of Souls here. So now every creature we play gives us double energy. Again, we're going to be in those situations where if we find the Meltdown, this game becomes easy, and then we're going to have to hope that we can navigate it without. So this Guide of Souls has flying innately because it was a Mockingbird, and when we play this Amped Raptor, we'll have enough energy to give this one flying as well. And then we can start cracking for 4 in the sky a turn. If our opponent finds themselves doing Ancient Tomb stuff, that's obviously going to be a bit of a burden. That doesn't matter to us. Okay, if our opponent's not doing anything with that turn, that's pretty solid for us. There is the Meltdown. That is pretty big game here. So we have 2 choices. We can play the Meltdown right now and just take out the Mox and the Chalice and then continue playing the game. Like if we play the Amped Raptor and it hits into a 1-drop, that's rubbish for us. So I think we are correct to just Meltdown here. I'll take a 3 for 1. We're marching our Mockingbird. But the next turn we can start doing the Ocelot Pride plan. So we can Ocelot Pride and Ponder. Peacekeeper, okay. So they get to take one of the cards, or make one of the cards in our hand cost more. What are they most scared of? Is it our 1 mana 1/1, or is our 2 mana 2/1? This makes it cost 2 more. Okay, they're scared of our Pussycat. I would very much like our Amped Raptor to hit here. We can ponder first. Quite like the Ajani here. We could set this up. Wait, does this... exile cards W like... Yes, we can set this up so we get the Ajani right now. Actually, no, we can't because we have to fetch, don't we? Okay. I think we want to... probably just round out our colours of the Plateau here. If we play the Ajani here, we could get enough energy to jump up with the Guide of Souls. That seems quite solid. Because this guarantees us 2 creatures. The Amped Raptor might not. Right. We've got a superior clock. And we can block with a Cat Warrior token. Flip our Ajani. And then play the Amped Raptor. And then start doming them. So our opponent has to have a pretty solid turn here. Expedition map does not strike me as that sort of solid turn they were looking for. They're going to go and get a Saga here. They'll lose their City of Traitors. They have got the Saga. I think this game will be decided before this Saga does anything. Now, they might not attack. Alright, they did not attack. Flooded Strand. That's not one. We could just play this Ocelot Pride out. I guess we attack with the Cat Warrior and see what our opponent does first. They can't really block here. Okay, so... you deploy a 3-mana Ocelot Pride, and that's honestly pretty solid here. Right. So next turn we can attack for 6 in the sky and a bunch on the ground. They can't really attack us. They can make a guy, but that guy doesn't do very much. We should have stacked these the other way around. A Swords to Plowshares. Yes, I will plow that guy. GG's. Alright, that's a good sign. This has first strike, right? It does. Okay. Let's jump it and give it lifelink and some more damage. Oh, sorry. Capitalize on the lifelink by doing more damage. Our opponent's given us a GG. They haven't scooped yet, which makes you think they might have something. I'm not sure what they can have because our board is pretty scary looking. We have a lot of energy. We've got the City's Blessing. What have you got, opponent? We're going to have 3 3/3 flyers or 3 power flyers. All right, we got the GG there. Yeah, that looked pretty good when it was doing its thing. Let's see if we can keep it going in round 2. PUSSYCAT into Raptor is fine. I wish this was a Tundra though, but... well, I guess we wish this was the Tundra actually, but that's fine. Because we don't get to play the cat and hold up the Daze. But we're on the play, so I think it makes sense to just get out ahead of things and deploy the Pride. Our opponent plays a lot of Show and Tell decks. Basic Island. And a Ponder. Okay. Very nice choice of this Mirage Island. A classic for sure. I think we're better off doing the Amped Raptor. Is that true? Is that better than an Ajani here? Well, we're going to attack for 1. I think the Amped Raptor can find like cantrips and stuff, which is something we want here. So I'm going to play out the Amped Raptor. There is a cantrip like I wanted. Okay, another Daze is not actually that useful. I do like the Brainstorm for next turn, but we're going to be brainstorming into this pile of stuff again. I think it's in any order in shuffle. We only have 1 island, so I didn't really want to Daze off of that. We've got a reasonable clock going. We have 1 piece of interaction. Alright, Lotus Petal. Ancient Tomb. We're just going to get Show and Tell here. No, it's a sneak attack. So if our opponent has something like a Spirit Guide to pay for this, Misdirection. Okay, so what they do is they make our Daze target itself. Okay, so you're saying we've got a turn. Which ruins our day. What is... I think we have to hold up the plow here, which probably means we're just wastelanding our opponents. Are we wastelanding them right now or not, is the next question. Because we could wasteland them now, or we could see if they find a red source. And then just have that wasteland ready to go for any red source. So they get 1 activation of their sneak attack. I think that's probably what I want to do here. It's going to be close. So they have a red source. They're going to go get a mountain here. Yeah, they're going to get a basic mountain. So we need to hope this isn't an Emrakul. It's not an Emrakul. Let's plow this with the trigger on the stack. And let's see what the damage is. Okay. We've dodged a little bit here. So you get Omniscience Show and Tell, Lotus Petal. Actually, we haven't dodged that much, have we? Lotus Petal, Scalding Tarn was the land they went for. They didn't take the Yggdrasil, they took the Lotus Petal. So here is a Show and Tell. We don't really get to interact with this one, so here comes our Ajani versus their Omniscience. I think I know which one I'd rather have in play. But how many cantrips and stuff they have? Okay, yeah. We'll scoop to Grizzlebrand. They get to draw 14 cards and cast them all. Pyroblast is good. Force of Negation is good. Hydroblast is reasonable. Containment Priest seems pretty good here too. I don't think I want anything else. They might have the One Ring, so Consign's Memory has some text, but I think just the other stuff we're doing makes more sense here. I don't think we need a Prismatic Ending. The Source of Plowshares doesn't seem like where I want to be either. Now, if they've got some sort of pivot with a creature, I've seen a few people doing Abhorrent Oculus pivots. That could get us here. But I think we just need to rely on things like Pyroblast to catch them once they've gone through. What does this hand do? Not great deals of stuff. We don't have any white mana. I think we can do better than this. So it's white mana, but okay, I will keep this one, and I'm going to bottom this Volcanic. I think the turn 1 play here is to get some pressure down. If our opponent turn 1s us, it's unlikely, it's annoying, but so be it. And then next turn we have double cantrips whilst we're pressuring our opponent. It's not a lot of pressure, but it's some pressure. Thundering Falls tapped. Okay, we're not getting turn 1. That's beautiful. We can Wasteland our opponent here. We can Ponder and Wasteland. Let's see what we draw. A Pyroblast, you say. Okay, let's cast this Ponder. Okay, we'll put this Brainstorm on the bottom. Then this Guide of Souls, then this Force. And then we'll just attack our opponent's resources here. And get that sweet pressure going. Now this does mount up every turn. It's not the biggest clock. But every turn it is growing by 1, and then at some point it grows a lot. And now we just sit here holding up our interaction. Play Guide of Souls. So we have Pyroblast and Force of Will up. And that's probably the last time we ever have to tap one of our lands on our turn. Getting a Brainstorm our end step. Right, so our opponent's turn. Is this the turn they go? It is not. So we're about to draw another Brainstorm. I could Brainstorm looking for land, but we can do that in our opponent's end step. This way we have the ability to Pyroblast and pay for an opponent's Daze. And we've got our opponent on a 2-turn clock here. Right, on our opponent's end step we can Brainstorm. Okay, we don't need that. Discarded a Grizzlebrand over there. So opponent's on 6, and we have 6 power in play. Well, plus another 3, or no, another 2, sorry, from the Guide of Souls. Alright, we have Pyroblast and Force of Will around Spell Pierce. Alright, our opponent did nothing and we get to win that game. Sideboard, what are we doing differently? Nothing, I'm happy, let's go. Containment Priest is pretty good. I think we can keep this one. We have a tiny bit of interaction. Ideally, we'd like to get to our turn 2 so we can drop this Containment Priest. Now, we don't know what quantity of the combo our opponent has in their hand, how much they're looking for. They could have it all and they're just looking for protection. They could have none of it and have the protection already. They're going to have something. They're going to have either protection, A's or B's to their combo. They're going to have some combination of that. And Ajani. If our opponent's playing Blood Moon, we can go and get an island here. I'll pass it over with the intention of playing a Containment Priest in our opponent's end step, perhaps. Or in response to them going off. A Show and Tell. Let's crack some fetch lands. This feels like a sneak attack line. Our Daze doesn't work here. Oh, I fetched the wrong mana here, haven't I? Whoops. Oh, no. I meant to click that Plateau. Did I click the wrong one? Okay. Let's see how bad my pump was. Right. We have an Atraxa, but we have an uncounterable Containment Priest at least. Well, there's definitely some answers to some of the stuff we've got here. But beating this is going to be tough unless we can draw our Pyroblast. So we probably have to Amped Raptor into the Pyroblast. So what do they take? Show and Tell, Scalding Tarn, Grizzlebrand, a Braid. Okay. If we can get 7 mana, we can copy their Atraxa. Pitch the Scalding Tarn, sure. A Daze. So, what mana would you want to keep up here? I want to keep up a blue mana. So this is red and white for this. Force of Will. I guess that does nothing. Feeling tough. Now our opponent obviously has a bunch of other cards in hand, and they might well have had a way of dealing with our Containment Priest if we fetch the right thing, but that was an objective mistake there. Although if we are expecting our opponent to do a sneak attack line, then it's right to hold this in hand and put it in via the show and tell. So there's going to be an Abrade here. Paying around double Daze. There's a land. Are they just going to play into my Daze on their show and tell though? Alright, they have a Force of Will. Okay. So we're not getting hit by Grizzlebrand. Yay! But we are getting hit by Atraxa. Boo. Yeah, so I think they had double Force of Will on their go turn as well. Not where I want to be. Let's play the guy that we have. Yeah, so if they had the Force of Will for when they were comboing, and they had the 1 mana up. So if we tried to play the Containment Priest in response to the show and tell, it wouldn't have worked anyway. That's still annoying. A sneak attack. Sneak attack and Grizzlebrand, that's dead. Yeah. We made a little mistake there, but I don't actually think it mattered. It might have ended up better for us, the fact that we played it the way we did. Weirdly. But, yeah. Tough. Tough stuff right there. Let's go to round 3. I wish I had something to go with this Force of Will, but the double Pride start is pretty strong still. I think we'll give this a Well. Which is where we're going to need this Force of Will, and it's immediately going to go horribly wrong for us. But maybe we get to use my beloved Goblin Bombardment. I do like this card a lot. A City of Traitors deck. 3 for 3 on City of Traitors deck so far today. Fable of the Mirror Breaker. That is an annoying one. I won't lie. In case our opponent plays a Blood Moon, I want to get our white spell out of our hand first. So we want the Ajani because when we play the Goblin Bombardment, we get to flip the Ajani and just start going pretty wild. And just blow this up. Or we can ping them for 1, then we can blow this up, make it another guy, attack with a Pride, and just start snowballing there. So I need this turn for our opponent to be somewhat ineffectual, ideally. If they attack, we can trade the Cat Warrior for the Goblin Shaman. If we have all of our mana with us, we can then Ocelot Pride and Goblin Bombardment next turn. And then we get 2 tokens that we can funnel into the Goblin Bombardment at the end of turn as well. And our opponent's deck, if they are a like mono red stompy style deck, is a relatively fair deck. Now they're playing good fairish spells. They're not just playing things that say I win the game necessarily, but they're playing them ahead of curve, which makes some of them into being a little bit unfair. For example, Blood Moon on turn 1 is a very unfair play, but they're not like Util spelling us or anything. They do have to win with some creature combat. And our board is currently looking pretty hot on the old creature combat front. I'll take my block. Just flips our little friend. So if they had anything that could kill the Ajani, it probably would have been able to kill either side of it anyway. So like Furies and stuff, or ramping out a Pyrogoyf, either way would kill our Ajani. Just let us untap. And if we can draw a blue card as well, that would be rather delicious. It feels like we might be building up to a Pyrogoyf here. It's a hard cast Fury. Alright, so we're going to lose everything here. That is unfortunate. So this game went from being super good for us to being super bad for us. So what is our plan? How do we recover from this? It probably involves Ajani, but if we want to be mana efficient, we should play the Ocelot Pride and the Bombardment this turn. And then next turn, we can play Ajani, we can use it to ping the Fury for 1, then we flip the Ajani, we activate the Ajani, we kill the Fury. And then we can try and deal with this Reflective Kiki-Jiki. Imagine if we'd have had a blue card in hand to Force of Will that Fury when it came down. Would have been game over right there. Broadside Bombardiers. Sure, that's going to be pretty good at beating us. Although, I don't know what they're going to do here. I think we're just going to take the damage here. This is what? 6, 7, 8. And they can deal us another 7 if they want to. Our opponent does now have a lot of things we need to deal with. Let's go for this Ajani. We're just going to keep this blue card in hand for Force of Will to stop additional things popping off and ruining our day. So we have to ping the broadside with this side, and then we'll ping it at the end. Okay, so this pings this, getting rid of the cat token, which flips our Ajani, and then we make a cat token. We blow up their reflective Kiki-Jiki. Then we attack. Then when we get a 1-1 at the end step, we use that to kill the broadside bombardiers. And now we can block the Fury and ping them with the bombardment and just keep making cats from this point. We do have this Force of Will that will hopefully stop anything too scary, like another broadside coming down or another Fury. I'd love to see them pitch cast a Fury. Goblin and Rabble Master. I think that's okay. I think we can handle that. Because this blocks here, pings down the 1-1. We take no damage. Then we untap, we make a guy. That guy kills the Goblin Rabble Master. We might as well play this Amped Raptor first. A Mockingbird. I guess we cast it. It doesn't get to be a copy of anything, but it's another body. Let's kill the Rabble Master here. We can chump block the Fury quite easily. Just give us the City's Blessing when we get the first token. Alright, now I think this game is over. We've got Force of Will, we've got all the pings you could possibly imagine. And this domes for huge amounts. Alright, our opponent's scooping it up. Absolutely love to see it. Let's have this Hydroblast, please. What else would we like here? Blood Moon is kind of irritating for us, so I think we have to respect it a little bit. Does that mean bringing in this Force of Negation? Possibly. Consign to Memory can hit a Fury trigger. It can hit a copy of the One Ring. It can hit some of their like spooky artifact stuff. So I'm not opposed to having some Consign to Memory. I don't think the Meltdown is where I want to be now. I think we'll probably trim a couple of Ponders. We want our removal in the Plows. The Dazes, I guess we'll swap the Daze out for a Meltdown so we can at least deal with Chalices after the fact a little bit. And that seems okay. Do I want a Consign in here is the real question. What's our blue count looking like? 18, that's so low. It's very low. Okay, maybe we don't need the Meltdown. We can just rely on this one Prismatic Ending a little bit and have a Consign to Memory in there. Still want another blue card, really. I don't think we can drop any of these. I don't really want to drop any of these because they are really important to turning the game over. Maybe it's the bombardment that goes. It was okay there, but it's not incredible. Do you want another Consign because this at least still works underneath the Chalice, whereas Ponder doesn't. I just want to get up to that 20 blue cards. I'm not a big lover of Daze here, but it does feel like something we need, especially if they're on the build with Pyrogoyfs and stuff. Like when they're trying to hard cast their big Fury play by pitching a bunch of Spirit Guides and stuff. If we can undermine that, and that's pretty solid. Force of Will to stop the worst excesses. We do have a threat and a little bit of removal, so we can let a Chalice resolve and actually deal with it. This seems like a hand that I can keep. We can go get a basic island with this, although that shuts us off of being able to cast this. So we probably have to get the Tundra, but we can play this first, and in an emergency we can crack it for a basic island if there's a Blood Moon. Well, I guess you probably just try and counterspell the Blood Moon. Put in thought for a while on their 7 and decided to keep it. Chromox, I don't think this is where I'm pointing my spell. So that's going to smash underneath this, an Ancient Tomb. There's a Blood Moon, a Broadside Bombardiers. Is that what we're counterspelling? I think it probably is. I'll pitch this Consign. Another Force of Will. I don't hate seeing that one. I could just Prismatic Ending this Chromox. I don't think that's where I need to be here. But it's a choice. So we've got Force of Will or Daze. If they obviously don't play a red source this turn, then I'll be more inclined to deal with this Chromox on our turn. Taking a lot of damages from the old Ancient Tombs though. Chalice X equals 2. Okay. You can kill this with Prismatic Ending for 1. I did really want to take this Chromox out, but I think we need to actually enable the spells that we have to work. One ring. We will not allow this one to resolve. Although it's a win condition for us, our opponent's already at 10. Alright, we can get a basic island or a basic plains off of this land, which is very good for us. So we play our only threat. Clocks for 3 a turn, which is not too shabby when our opponent's only on 10. We've got their next creature answered. Another Chrome Mox. Are they just going to deploy a 1 ring? No. They're playing a broadside here. And we're going to get a white source here. I don't want them just getting free rolls at blowing our creatures up. Takes them back to 10, but they do still have 2 Ancient Tombs. That is effectively a lot lower life total. I will play this Flooded Strand out just in case they play a Blood Moon and I want to be able to fetch a basic island. Ordinarily I'd keep this in hand in case we do a Brainstorm, but I think we just don't want to get shut off from a colour. Gemstone Caverns. Not a fan of that land. Alright, let's bash for 3. So our opponent can tap 1 Ancient Tomb. So they have 4 mana, which is still fine. They could Pyrogoyf, blow up our Ajani, and that's a pretty solid spot to be in. One thing I like when playing against the mono-red decks is when you pitch cast your Force of Will, it kind of feels like an even trade because they've probably spent multiple resources getting to that point, whether it's Spirit Guides or Chrome Moxes or whatever. Alright, yeah, that match felt pretty good. Let's go to round 4. The mana here does not really work. Hand is good. I guess we could try and ponder, but that's our blue card for Force of Will. Could ponder, not hit another land, not hit another blue card, and just have nothing. We only need 1 white card. All right, I'm gonna try this one for science. We're on the draw, so the chances are we're more likely to find something because we get an additional card before we have to start doing any selection. All right, we found another blue card, so I'll take that. Let's cast this ponder. A Volcanic Island. Are you kidding me? I don't mind the ponder. We could cast the Amped Raptor next turn, cascading into the ponder or whatever it is. I can't remember what this ability is called. Okay, it doesn't have a specific name. It's not the new version of Cascade. Sorry, I digress. I think we probably want to... Now we'll just draw the ponder for next turn. Like we could also just Amped Raptor into a guy. I think playing basics in our deck, giving us less jewels of the type we want, does certainly come at a cost for us. If you look at Delver decks, they sometimes don't play any basics. And we're kind of trying to do similar things where we're making our 1-drops into 2-drops. A Wasteland. Not my best friend. Let's cast a ponder around a Daze. It's going to be an Orcish Bowmasters here. I will Force of Will this, I think. Our opponent's showing us their tempo build by playing this Orcish Bowmasters, most likely. Alright, they're forcing back. Got 2 for 2 exchange. No, they changed their mind. He's thinking of what they want to pitch. Kaito. Alright, they're definitely on a fairish build. So I get to do a little bit of extra damage with this ponder. Oh, Flooded Strand and a Plateau. Oh, I love all of these cards. We're going to get 2 of them though. So I'm just going to max out on white sources here. Since they have a Wasteland face up. Yes, they get to ping us for 1, but we can put a 2/1 first striker in front of the Orc army, and that kind of slows their roll a fair bit here. We probably just look like a blue-red Delver deck that's kind of flailing a little bit. A Troll of Khazad-dûm. Maybe they are doing some reanimation stuff. And their flex slots are Bowmasters and Kaito. How much are we... Okay, they are reanimating as well, with Kaito in their deck. Okay. Do we have to cast this Amped Raptor right now? I think we might have to. I can find a Plow here which deals with the Troll. We have to play something into Daze this turn, and they did have the Daze. But now we get to play Guide of Souls, Ocelot Pride in the same turn cycle. 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay. That is a lot of our life total there. Wasteland's not really the one, is it? Okay, so we go to 1, we block. But then we have to crack this fetch as well. So if we crack this, we go to 4. We gain 1 from this. We gain another 1 from this. That puts us up to 6. We could triple block this and then die to... I guess we triple block this. I I think it's probably worth... They've shown them the Raptor though. They probably can imagine all the other cards in our hand here. Okay. Don't know how we're supposed to get out of this. If I have an answer for anything we're doing, we're dead. And we're probably going to be dead on the following turn anyway. Alright, they got Force of Will. We don't get 3 creatures to put in front. We are dead. Oakley dokley. So, some reanimation stuff over there. I don't know how good the Pyroblasts are going to be, because these decks tend to be pretty black focused. Grafdigger's Cage and Containment Priest are also nice here. I don't particularly like Force of Will in a matchup like this. I don't mind the Bombardment because it deals with their Bowmasters. So the reason I like the Pyroblast here is because we've seen the Kaito. Maybe we just go all off of Force of Wills entirely. And then we can trim some other blue cards. I quite like the Mockingbird if they've got Bowmasters, because it just gives us a Bowmaster of our own. So that's not bad. Maybe we're just trimming a couple of Ponders here, so we don't need the blue card count. We want to keep all of our 1-drop creatures. We want to keep our Ajanis. I think we want to keep the Dazes here. Although, how much is our opponent going to play around the Dazes? I guess we just need them early on, just in case something goes wrong. Alright, let's lean into this a little bit more. We're kind of being the aggro deck a little bit. If we get into a fair trading, we don't want to be pitching our Force of Wills. So I think it's important to just have this 1-for-1 answers like Faerie Macabre, Pyroblast, Cage, Containment Priest. These sorts of things are going to be better rates for us. And they've shown us that their fair plan is a little bit deeper than other decks because they've shown us a Kaito, which is unusual. Kaito is very strong, so I can understand why they're playing it. We have no lands, so we're going to mulligan this hand. Okay, we got Brainstorm that can do some work. I'll keep this. I don't really like wastelanding our opponent's deck very much. Maybe we could trim on Wastelands, actually. And keep more blue cards in our deck. Maybe have a couple of emergency Force of Wills. Like, there are definitely situations where you can randomly spike a game with the Wasteland. But for the most part, it's not a great tool. Because they have trolls to go and get basics anyway. So they fetch one basic, they troll for the other one, and then, you know, they're Wasteland proof. They can operate off of 2 lands completely. Alright, they're playing a Strand and cracking it. We're going to be seeing a Ponder. We're going to be seeing a Thoughtseize. A Thoughtseize. Alright, let's brainstorm in response here. And see what we want to show them. I kind of want this Fairy. And I want this Ajani. So we have to hide both. That kind of sucks. Yeah, I don't like this very much, but I think that's the correct thing to do. They're going to take the Daze here. They're hopefully going to think the coast is clear, and then we can get them with this Fairy we've put on top. We could have kept the Ajani as the other option and put back one of the Mockingbirds and shuffled away. But they can just leave us with Daze and Mockingbirds. That doesn't seem great. Play this out so I don't know if we're keeping that top card or not, but we are. Under City Sewers, they're going to mill a giant monster. Okay, we'll draw this. We can also use Mockingbird to flip our Ajani as well. I think we'll hold up our land in case we need to bluff anything here. I don't think making a 2-1 flyer is necessary where I need to be. Alright, so just pushing our guy. So I could Mockingbird and make a 2-1 flyer for 1 mana. That doesn't seem great in the world of Orcish Bowmasters. If they play out Bowmasters, we can copy it. If they play out Barragoyf, we can copy it. I think it's just better as a tool to leverage to ruin any sort of fair plan they have. Ponder from our opponent. And we have the graveyard covered. So that's not what I'm fearful about. Cycling a troll. Top card of our library is a mystery, so there's no need to crack here. A Brainstorm when our opponent can't play an Orcish Bowmasters. Sign me up. Grafdigger's Cage and a Pyroblast. These are some cards, aren't they? Let me put these 2 back. Deploy a Cage. No graveyards for you. I was prepared to fight. That's why I was prepared to have the Faerie Macabre if they stop this from happening. So if we want a Mockingbird, we can draw it. Otherwise, we can shuffle it away. If we need a Pyroblast, we can do that as well. If our opponent plays any sort of fair threat, then I will draw this Mockingbird. A Plague Engineer. Okay. I will draw the Mockingbird. I'm going to name Cat, I believe. Let's try a Mockingbird. A Daze, sure. And they only have a 2/2. Not so worried about that one. But we need to make sure we're not just taking loads and loads of chip shots and dying to it. A Metamorphosis Fanatic. So this still comes in as a guy. It doesn't get to bring anything back from the graveyard. It can target it, but it can't do it while the cage is in play. But they have a 4/4 and a 2/2. And we are very far behind. Okay, I guess we lose the Mockingbird here. And now you can certainly see the weakness of a Pyroblast in a situation like this. Because all their threats are black, like I did mention. But we got a lot of plows in our deck. We could draw an Amped Raptor, which can keep the Plague Engineer at bay because it's got first strike. We could Amped Raptor into Source of Plowshares and just be completely fine. We could draw a Brainstorm. That can certainly fix us up a little. I don't really want this. And I guess we keep the Ocelot Pride here on top for the next one. And then we can play this. We can play the Ajani. We get 2/1. Immediately dies. We flip the Ajani. Yes, this is the problem we have, isn't it? Because now we zero here and this doesn't do anything. No, we were just dead from that Brainstorm, I think. We got 2 more draws. We're going to get hit for 6 and then 6. And then we have 1 draw step. I guess it could maybe be an Amped Raptor into Source of Plowshares, but I'm not feeling it. Let's go to the final round. We are currently 2-2, so the positive record hangs in the balance. We have a 1 mana 1/2 and a Brainstorm to try and find something else. I think this is fine. I'll keep this. So we can play on basics, but that shuts us off of red. I really don't like playing with basics on this deck. It's something I'm coming to appreciate. Okay, Sandstone Needle. Our opponent is up to no good over there. Alright, Wasteland, your time to shine. So they're probably playing the Creative Technique combo deck, which is probably my least favourite deck in Legacy, because it's not really a deck that you play. It kind of just operates on its own and either works or it doesn't. Okay, let's hope that this Guide of Souls can do something. If they go for a Violent Outburst style line, then that gives us a chance to Force of Will the Tibolt's Trickery. Ancient Tomb. Throes of Chaos. It cascades into showing us a bunch of stuff. So they got this Tibolt's Trickery here. We'll Force of Will the Tibolt's Trickery. That's the end of the chain. And they've also wastelanded themselves to do that, so that gives us a little bit more agency. Let's just beat them down with our little guys. Let's play a Pussycat. Alright, we've got some power. We've also got this Daze, which might do something. Doesn't often work that well against our opponent's deck, but we can try. A Violent Outburst cascading into... what is it going to be? A Tibolt's Trickery. Who would have guessed? Daze this. I'd very much like to just draw nothing but wastelands the rest of the game. Our deck does not oblige and give us nothing but wastelands. So next turn we get to put a counter on our guy and make it larger. So next turn our opponent can probably just go again. There's basically one little window of choice when you play the Creative Technique deck. It's when you use your lands that sack themselves. Do you hold out and try and cast your more expensive spells and then kind of work backwards or not? Or do you just go for it? Which isn't really much of a decision, to be honest. Because it's normally pretty self-evident what the correct decision is. Alright, they got on Tibolt's Trickery. They do indeed. So now they Tibolt's Trickery into a Creative Technique. Alright, so this game is almost certainly over now. This is not 100% deterministic. But it's pretty close to it. They can obviously hit into Throes of Chaos and stuff. And recall the Eon's Torn. So bash us for 15. We lose a bunch of stuff. Then they bash us again. So that's probably going to be game over there. Okay. Not a fan of this one. So let's have this Grafdigger's Cage. This stops the retrace on the Throes of Chaos. And then we want the Hydroblast. And the Consign to Memory can counter the Demonstrate trigger, I believe. That's a when. I'm pretty sure that's true. Let me have a little look. Could also hit the actual cascade triggers of this. So probably don't need removal. Just get rid of some of that. I like the blue cards. I like the Mockingbirds being blue cards. You probably don't need Goblin Bombardment. Well, that's basically the only way we can flip our Ajani here. Let me just trim a couple of these. How many blue cards we got? 23, that's quite a lot, that'll do. We could take the Faerie Macabre just to exile the card from the graveyard. I think that's worth it. Okay, we can keep this. Got Force of Will to stop the first go. And then we've got Ajani to try and beat down after that. And we've got this Wasteland that we can hopefully leverage as well. And Dwarven Ruins. I'm going to play out the Ajani here just to get more power down. Because we have it covered next turn. This land has to sack if it wants 2 mana anyway, and then we can Wasteland something afterwards. And hope that this Force of Will gets us through. But there's lots of decks, like any deck with Teferi just automatically beats this. So it's just not ideal. I'm going to go for it, opponent. Throws of Chaos, cascades into a Tybalt's Trickery. We'll say no to the Tybalt's Trickery. And we will Wasteland your Ancient Tomb and continue to beat you down. Now, maybe we could hold that and hit Colour Banner, but they might have something that lets them go off next turn, and I can't really afford to allow that. We've got 2-turn clock with a Daze back up. A Mountain. Alright, they're a long ways away now. Bash for a bunch. Play out another Pussycat. Play out land. We can hard cast the Daze if we want to. We can soft cast it as well. We've got the City's Blessings, so we make many, many tokens. The deck also struggles to beat things like Harbinger of the Seas. Not a tool that we can leverage, but it's important to note. Yeah, like our opponent's deck can't really do anything other than the thing it does either, so we just go back in again. Hope our clutch of counter magic and Wastelands does enough. We don't have a Wasteland or a counter spell. I don't know if we can keep this one. Okay, we can keep this one. We get rid of the Bombardment. It's not really the most useful here. So we've got Consign. We've got Force of Will. We've got some nice tools. Do I hold up the Consign here, or do I just jam the Pride? I think we jam the Pride. Because the Consign should do the next Cascade trigger afterwards. So we can Force of Will the first spell, Consign the second, and we can just start applying some pressure, because the more turns that Ocelot Pride is in play, the more damage it does. It scales up every turn. Especially when our opponent isn't going to be doing anything to commit to the board. They're either comboing or they're doing nothing. We're doing nothing this turn. That's interesting for us. Another Consign to Memory. Okay, we'll just hold up this Consign to Memory. And if we draw a land next turn, we can make a cat. No, sorry, we can make a raptor even. So we've got this Demonstrate trigger here. See the wording of Demonstrate. When you cast a spell, you may copy it. If you do, choose an opponent to also copy it. Yes, we need to hit it now. Alright, let's go and get another blue source here. It's probably just a Volk, just round it out nicely. Let's cast this. I will cast this Ponder. Do any of these really matter to me right now? I don't think so. This is an any order in shuffle, I think. Alright, I don't mind having a Force of Will. So we kind of need our opponent to hit their own fail rate a little bit this turn. So we can answer one thing. Presuming they're just going to go with another creative technique here. Crystal Vein, sure. A creative technique, and they are demonstrating. So they get 2 copies, but we get a spell here. So I think we let ourselves get a spell, and then we use the Force of Will here. So this should be our copy, I think. Okay, so I can't consign any of these. So we have to Force of Will one of these, and hope the other one just whiffs into like nothing. Call Force the Tempest. Well, that's going to blow up all of our things. And we have to sit here while our opponent does all this. A Pyrokinesis to kill all of our board. And then they run an Outburst. Then maybe it hits, maybe it doesn't. Alright, so it's the Tybalt's Trickery that can fail. Hits the Throes of Chaos. Okay, this is the sort of thing we need for our opponent to stop being able to play the game. But they've still got some mana left over there, so this is going to hit into Tybalt's Trickery, but then we see if the Tybalt's Trickery hits into something good for them or not. Trumpeting Carnosaur, okay, that's beatable depending on what they hit into here. Another creative technique, so this is almost certainly game now. These all have to hit into a bunch of... So I get a Raptor that I don't get the ability from. Cool. I don't think my dinosaur is as good as my opponent's dinosaur. Another cool thought to yeah, I don't want to sit through this. Yeah, that's my most hated deck, I think, in the format. Because it's not particularly good, and there's no play to it at all. It's kind of the reason you play Legacy is because it's interactive back and forth and stuff. Anyway, that's the end of the match and the end of the league. So we finished with a 2-3 result. Not great, to be honest. So let's talk about the deck. So the first thing to note with this deck for me is the mana base. So normally when I would play some sort of tempo deck, like back in the day when we were playing like Rug Tempo or whatever, we'd have 3 Volk and 3 Trop. Because we're trying to cast Daze, so we want them to be islands. We have got 3 lands that are not islands, and that did come up. And if we're trying to play with basics on this deck, we are definitely going to run into a little bit of trouble, I think. Because we're trying to cast these red spells as well. Like, we're only sort of dipping a little bit into red. We are just a blue-white deck that's dipping into red. But the problem is, quite often we're finding these cards in our hand and they seem relatively important. So I just don't know. Also, Amped Raptor is a card that continues to be unimpressive to me. The amount of times it was hitting into stuff that it didn't do anything. Like, it was hitting into Forces several times. It was hitting into Mockingbird, which felt bad. I just don't like Amped Raptor. I think it makes sense with the Ajani as a red permanent, but I just don't like this. There must be some kind of other energy card we could play in this slot. I reckon if we were to just... I guess we kind of want the Ajani to have a red permanent to deal with is kind of the issue. I don't know. I just need Amped Raptor to be better, really. It's just not good enough, in my opinion. It never feels amazing. Like, you could build a deck where it always cascades into something useful, but then you have to lower your curve, and you have to not run these things. Maybe you don't run this either. Like, if it was just always cascading into one of these, that would be fine, or into an Ajani, that would be fine. But as soon as it starts cascading into these, or removal spells that you can't use, it doesn't feel very good. Now, sometimes it's nice to have an out where you have this hit and hope of Amped Raptor will cascade into the thing we need it to. But I don't want to build a deck where I'm relying on that. And a 2-mana 2-1 on its own is not good enough. And if the ability it's doing is also not really good enough, is merging those two things together really quite enough? I'm not personally convinced. I would rather play the Unstable Amulet as Amped Raptor, I think. Weirdly. Obviously, this is good for our little beatdown plan or whatever. But the Unstable Amulet, when I played it, has been really impressive. And it always gets you cards. This doesn't. So there's something to be said about that. I don't know. I'm just not a big fan of this sort of shell of energy. I think I preferred playing the food chain build that we played. That felt a little bit better to me. Obviously, I didn't really like the Amped Raptors in that either. Did we play Amped Raptors? I can't remember now. I think we probably were. But I think we can cut the Amped Raptors from that build. And it would still feel pretty solid. But yeah, the Guide of Souls, Ocelot Pride stuff is good. Obviously, you know, the blue shell is pretty good. Ajani is fine. Like, it did win us a game where we managed to just flip it and start doing it. But a lot of these cards just don't feel amazing to me. Like, we need to have a collection of these cards. Like, none of them are any good on their own. They need to have multiples. We need to at least piece things together when people could just be playing, like, Delver of Secrets and bashing away and protecting it. So I don't think this is going to be the direction to go with tempo or energy, to be honest. But it's certainly fun, and it's got some play to it, and you can certainly do well. Like I said, it came second in a challenge. It is playing a bunch of good cards. If things line up nicely, then you'll get there. But I think I'd rather play a deck that is better at lining things up nicely than something that looks like this. If I were to play this again, I would definitely try and change this mana base. I don't like having these 3 cards that don't work for Daze purposes. I think we should just be either getting rid of the idea of playing on basics altogether, or maybe you have like 1 island, and then you can always use that for like Hydroblast against Blood Moon later on if you need to. But I guess we don't have like a blue answer like a Brazen Borrower, which is a nice catch-all. So, uncertain of the best way to take this deck, but I did not enjoy the mana very much on it. Sideboard-wise, I felt like we had the tools we wanted more or less. I don't think it would hurt to have access to a little bit more removal, but I just like to play quite removal heavy when I'm playing fair decks as a general rule. Alright, I think we're done with this one for today, so thank you so much for watching. Please remember to like and subscribe. I'm trying to hit 5,000 subscribers by April, so if you can help me hit that target, that would be lovely. Alright, thank you so much for watching again, and goodbye. If you'd like to support me in the channel, please check out my Patreon. It has a free guide to budget turbo depths, as well as 3 tiers of support. A low cost one that enters you into my monthly raffle for a free donation deck on the channel, a mid-tier subscription that gives you access to my detailed turbo depths guide that is updated every month, as well as regular articles, and lastly, the higher tier gives you all of the above, as well as a monthly donation deck for my channel. If you're interested in supporting the channel this way, please check out the link in the description.